stop lying to yourself. You wake up every single day hoping someone will notice your hard work, someone will validate your choices, or someone will finally understand the weight you're carrying. You post your achievements, you explain your struggles, and you broadcast your plans, hoping for a like, a compliment, or a moment of recognition. But here is the brutal, freezing truth that you are terrified to face. Nobody cares. While you are busy obsessing over what the world thinks of you, the world is busy obsessing over itself. Your neighbors, your colleagues, even the people you consider your closest friends, they are all trapped in their own personal dramas, their own insecurities, and their own trivial pursuits. You are not the center of their universe. You are barely a footnote in their daily narrative. And do you know what? That is the most liberating realization you will ever have. As long as you believe someone is watching, you will perform. As long as you believe someone cares, you will remain a slave to their opinion. But the moment you accept that you are truly alone in this arena, you stop being a performer and start becoming a master. Today, we are going to strip away the illusion of external approval. You are going to learn why focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's the only way to survive the noise. If you are finally ready to stop performing for a crowd that doesn't exist, drop "I am my own master" in the comments right now. Let's begin. We grow up programmed to believe that our lives are a stage. From the moment we can interact with others, we are taught to look for signals of approval. A smile from a parent, a grade from a teacher, a nod from a peer. We spend our formative years calibrating our behavior based on the reactions of those around us. By the time we reach adulthood, this conditioning is so deeply ingrained that we don't even realize we are doing it. We live as if there is a permanent audience watching our every move, grading our performance, and waiting to judge our failures. But take a step back and look at the reality of your day-to-day life. Think about the last time you spent 10 minutes worrying about how someone else perceived a mistake you made or an opinion you shared. Now ask yourself, how long did that person actually spend thinking about it? Probably not even 10 seconds. They were likely already back to thinking about their own bills, their own relationships, or their own lunch. We waste hours of our precious finite time crafting explanations and curating our public image for people who will forget we exist the moment they close their eyes at night. The Stoics called this living for the shadows. They understood that the opinion of the masses is a fickle, hollow thing. It is like trying to build a fortress out of smoke. You can exhaust yourself trying to shape the fog, but the moment the wind changes, your work is gone. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that the praise of the future is as useless as the criticism of the present. Both come from minds that are as confused and distracted as your own. When you seek validation, you are essentially asking someone who is lost to give you directions. It makes no sense. When you stop caring about what they think, you reclaim the energy that was previously being spent on the performance. That energy is massive. It's the energy you've been leaking into the void of social media, office gossip, and unnecessary explanations. Think about how much you could build, how much you could study, how much you could grow if you redirected all that attention inward. When you stop looking for applause, you start looking for growth. When you stop listening for the crowd's roar, you start listening to your own intuition. You become the actor, the director, and the only spectator that matters in your life. This is the first step toward true independence. You are not here to be a background character in someone else's play. You are here to write, act, and finish your own. The sooner you kill the need for an audience, the sooner you start living a life that is actually yours. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. Let's talk about the biggest disease of the modern age, the desperate, pathetic need to be liked. You look around, and what do you see? People turning their lives into a showroom. They curate their breakfast, their workouts, their relationships, and their tragedies, all for an audience they don't even like. They trade their internal peace for a dopamine hit from a stranger's thumb on a screen. And the worst part? You think you're different. You tell yourself, I'm just sharing my journey. But deep down, you know the truth. You are looking for a seat at a table that doesn't want you, trying to impress people who are only waiting for their turn to talk. External validation is a bottomless pit. You can fill it with 1,000 likes, 100 comments, and a dozen hollow compliments, and yet you will wake up the next morning feeling exactly as empty as you were the day before. Why? Because you are trying to solve an internal problem with an external solution. Your lack of confidence, your fear of failure, your feeling of inadequacy, these are wounds of the soul. No amount of applause from the crowd is going to heal them. In fact, seeking that validation only makes the wound deeper because it reinforces the lie that you are not enough on your own. The Stoics understood that the opinion of others is something indifferent. It is outside your control. You cannot force someone to understand you, to respect you, or to like you. And if you cannot control it, why on earth would you make it the foundation of your happiness? When you attach your self-worth to what others think, you give them the remote control to your emotions. If they praise you, you're up. If they criticize you, or worse, ignore you, you're down. That is not a life. That is a roller coaster ride built by other people. You are handing your sovereignty away every single time you post something, hoping for a specific reaction. You need to understand that the world does not owe you an opinion. More importantly, you do not owe the world your compliance. When you stop chasing validation, you suddenly find yourself with an abundance of time and mental clarity. You stop filtering your life through the lens of, how will this look to them? And start acting through the lens of, is this true to me? This is where your power resides. When you no longer need them to tell you that you're doing well, you become dangerous. Not dangerous in a criminal sense, but dangerous to the status quo. You become someone who cannot be manipulated, someone who cannot be bought with cheap praise or silenced by petty judgment. You become a person of substance, not a performer of style. You start making choices that serve your growth, even when those choices are unpopular. That is the beginning of real, unshakable freedom. It is the moment you realize that the only validation you ever needed was the one you refused to give yourself. The validation of your own integrity. You are the architect of your own character. Start building something that stands on its own, regardless of whether the world looks at it or not. You've spent years operating under the dangerous delusion that your success, your happiness, and your emotional stability are communal projects. You think, if I just explain myself clearly enough, they will understand me. Or, if I help them enough, they will eventually help me back. You are playing a game of social reciprocity that is fundamentally rigged. You are waiting for the world to play its part in your script. But here is the cold reality. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is lying awake at night worrying about whether you reach your goals. They have their own burdens, their own egos, and their own selfish agendas. When you make your life dependent on the cooperation of others, you are building your house on sand. The moment someone decides to change their mind, move on, or simply lose interest, your entire world starts to crumble. This is why you feel so exhausted. You are not just carrying your own weight. You are carrying the imaginary weight of everyone's expectations and the fear of their potential betrayal. It is a massive misallocation of your mental resources. Stoicism teaches us that the only responsibility that truly belongs to you is the management of your own character and your own actions. Everything else is secondary. Often, it is just noise. Think of your life as a singular uphill climb. You can choose to walk it alone, focused, with a steady pace, or you can try to drag a dozen people with you, people who are constantly complaining, questioning your path, or trying to pull you toward their own shortcuts. Which one do you think is going to reach the summit? Most of your frustration in life stems from trying to outsource your happiness. You look for a partner to complete you, a boss to validate your worth, or a friend group to affirm your identity. But the moment you outsource your internal state, you lose your autonomy. You need to embrace the uncomfortable truth of self-reliance. It doesn't mean you become a hermit or hate people. It means you stop demanding that they be the source of your stability. When you stop expecting others to get it, you stop being disappointed. When you stop waiting for a team to authorize your success, you start moving at your own speed. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the cause of your own reality. This shift in perspective is terrifying because it removes all your excuses. You can no longer blame your parents, your partner, or the haters for your lack of progress. If you are not where you want to be, it is because you have been waiting for external conditions to align, while the only thing that needed to align was your own resolve. The responsibility is entirely yours. Own it. Embrace it. The moment you stop looking for help and start realizing that you are the only one who can actually do the work, you stop being a passenger in your own life and finally take the wheel. It's lonely, yes, but it is the only path to genuine, unshakable power. You spend half of your waking hours looking at other people's highlight reels and feeling inadequate. It's a sickness. You see someone traveling, someone launching a business, someone looking fit, and suddenly your own life feels like a failure. But you are comparing your behind the scenes, your struggles, your fears, your messy mornings with their carefully curated public image. It is an unfair fight, and it is a rigged game. You are being manipulated by your own biology, which is wired to scan the tribe for status, and by an algorithm that profits specifically from your insecurity. When you compare yourself to others, you are essentially telling the universe that your path is invalid unless it looks like theirs. This is the death of your individuality. Stoicism teaches us that each of us has a unique role to play, a specific set of circumstances to manage, and a personal race to run. If you are busy looking at the runner in the lane next to you, you will eventually trip. You aren't meant to be them. You aren't meant to have their life. You are meant to be the absolute best version of yourself, utilizing the specific cards you were dealt. Think about how much energy you lose every single day by feeling behind. Behind whom? By what measure? By society's arbitrary timeline? That timeline was created to keep you consuming, to keep you buying things you don't need to impress people you don't like. True power is realized when you stop looking sideways and start looking forward. The moment you stop measuring your progress against others is the moment you start setting your own pace. You become immune to the envy that eats away at the potential of so many others. Envy is a confession of inferiority. It's a silent admission that you don't trust your own worth. When you master your own mind, you realize that another person's success is not your failure. In fact, you stop seeing it as a competition at all. You start seeing the world as a place where you can learn, observe, and eventually contribute from your own unique position of strength. You stop being a spectator of other people's lives and become the protagonist of your own. This requires brutal honesty. You have to admit that you've been using others as a benchmark because it's easier than setting your own standards. It's safer to follow the crowd than to blaze a trail. But you aren't here for safe. You are here to become sovereign. Stop checking their status. Stop counting their wins. Put your head down, focus on your craft, and let your results be the only thing that speaks for your worth. When you finally stop looking at everyone else, you'll be shocked at how fast you start moving. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus, 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. You are carrying a mountain of weight on your shoulders, but here is the irony. None of it belongs to you. You are worried about the global economy, about the political state of a country you don't live in, about what your ex-partner thinks of your new haircut, and about why that acquaintance from 10 years ago didn't like your post. You are exhausting your nervous system on things that have absolutely zero impact on your ability to feed your family, grow your character, or achieve your goals. You are living in a state of chronic, low-level anxiety because you have failed to distinguish between what is your business and what is none of your business. The Stoics had a practice called the dichotomy of control. It is the most powerful tool you will ever possess. It requires you to draw a hard line in the sand. On one side, you have the things you control, your judgments, your intentions, your desires, and your own actions. On the other side, you have everything else: the weather, the government, the stock market, other people's opinions, and the eventual outcome of your efforts. When you worry about the things on the second side, you are essentially trying to play God. You are trying to command the tides, and then you feel frustrated and broken when they refuse to listen to you. Most people waste their entire potential by shouting at the storm. They're so busy complaining about the wind that they never adjust their sails. Think about your energy like a bank account. You only have a limited amount of focus to spend each day. Every second you spend scrolling through news that makes you angry. Every minute you spend replaying a conversation where you felt disrespected, and every hour you spend agonizing over what-ifs. That is a direct withdrawal from your life force. You are bankrupting your own future to pay for the anxieties of the present. When you decide to focus on yourself, you must become ruthless. You must learn to look at a piece of news or a social media trend and ask, does this impact my ability to act with virtue right now? If the answer is no, you treat it like static noise. You don't engage. You don't share your opinion. You don't let it ruffle your internal peace. You turn your attention back to the work in front of you. This is not apathy. It is precision. It is the ability to ignore the irrelevant so that you can amplify the essential. The world wants you distracted because a distracted person is a passive consumer. They want you angry because an angry person is easy to manipulate. But when you become a person of focus, you stop being a pawn. You reclaim your energy. You start noticing that when you stop caring about things that don't matter, you have an incredible amount of strength left over for the things that do. You stop feeling overwhelmed because you've stopped trying to manage the entire world. You only manage your own kingdom. And that, my friend, is more than enough to fill a lifetime of work. There is a primitive urge in all of us to announce our intentions. You start a new project, you decide to lose weight, you plan a new career path, and your first instinct is to tell everyone. You want the world to know you are doing something. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that announcing your plans to the world is the fastest way to kill the energy required to execute them. When you tell people what you're going to do, your brain gets a cheap hit of dopamine, the same kind of hit you would get if you had actually finished the work. You feel accomplished without having moved an inch. And once that satisfaction is felt, your drive to actually grind, struggle, and build vanishes. Think of your goals as a fire. When you are just starting, that fire is small. It is fragile. It needs protection, focus, and heat. If you expose that fire to the wind of other people's opinions, critiques, and curiosity, you risk blowing it out before it ever has the chance to become a blaze. By building in private, you keep the heat for yourself. You use that energy to fuel the work, not the ego. When you stop telling people what you are doing, you remove the pressure of their expectations. You stop worrying about what they will think if you fail, and you stop worrying about what they will think if you succeed. You become free to experiment, to fail, to adjust, and to master your craft without an audience judging your every step. Building in private is the ultimate act of self-respect. It says that the work you are doing is for your own development, not for the validation of others. It says that you don't need a witness to prove that you are moving forward. When you operate in the shadows, you create an internal standard that is much higher than anything the world could impose on you. You become your own toughest critic and your own greatest witness. This is where true confidence is forged. It is not built on the cheers of a crowd, but on the silent, consistent evidence of your own discipline. This practice also protects you from the crabs in a bucket mentality. There will always be people who feel threatened by your growth. If you broadcast your intentions, you are giving them the map to your vulnerabilities. You are telling them exactly where you are trying to go so they can find the most effective ways to discourage you, mock you, or bring you down to their level of mediocrity. But if you work in silence, you become a ghost. By the time they realize you are moving, you are already far ahead of them, and by then, their opinion no longer holds the power to touch you. Protect your vision. Treat your ambitions like a secret weapon. Most people are too busy talking about what they are going to do to ever actually do it. By remaining silent, you gain a massive competitive advantage. You are moving while they are posturing. You are building while they are explaining. You are winning while they are still arguing about the rules. True power doesn't need to be announced. It makes itself known through the results it produces. Keep your head down, guard your focus, and let your finished work be the only thing that introduces you to the world. We have stripped away the illusions. You've realized that the audience you were performing for never really existed, that your need for validation was a chain you forged yourself, and that your obsession with external events was a waste of your finite life force. We are at the end of this journey, but this is only the beginning of your practice. The final stage of this transformation is shifting from simply not reacting to actively mastering your environment from within. Many people reach this point and think that once they stop caring about what others think, the world will stop being difficult. That is not the case. The world will remain chaotic. People will still be irrational. Politics will still be messy. And life will still present challenges that you didn't ask for. But the difference is that you are no longer a victim of that chaos. You have built a fortress. When the storms come, and they will come, you don't run for cover, and you don't try to stop the rain. You remain inside your fortress, calm, anchored and focused on the only thing you have ever truly controlled, your own response. This is the ultimate state of Stoic sovereignty. It is the ability to look at any situation, no matter how dire, and ask, how can I act with wisdom, justice, and courage right now? When you stop looking outward for cues, you develop a North Star inside yourself. That North Star is your integrity. It doesn't flicker when you lose a job. It doesn't dim when someone insults you. And it doesn't vanish when you face rejection. It remains constant. This consistency is exactly what the world calls charismatic or unshakable. But it is simply the natural result of a mind that has stopped being divided against itself. You are now in a position to lead, not necessarily by holding a title, but by being the most grounded person in any room. People are drawn to those who don't need their approval. They are drawn to those who are silent when others are gossiping, who are focused when others are distracted, and who remain steady when others are panicking. By focusing on yourself, you haven't become isolated. You have become a beacon. You are finally truly of use to the people around you because you are no longer needy. You are no longer draining energy from the room. You are adding to it. The final realization is this. You are the only one who can grant yourself the life you want. No boss will give it to you, no partner will create it for you, and no amount of social media status will ever fulfill you. It is a solo mission. It is a path you walk alone, even when you are surrounded by people. Embrace that solitude. It is not lonely. It is the arena where you become the person you were always meant to be. The noise of the world will continue to scream for your attention, but you now have the power to mute it. You have the power to choose what enters your mind and, more importantly, what comes out of it. The question is no longer, what does the world want from me? But, what is the best version of myself going to do next? That is your new standard. That is your new life. Stay silent, stay focused, and keep moving. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. +5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today.